Today I'll be giving you an overview of my design thinking, design practice, and design journey that led me to my final designs for my chosen brief. Within this presentation, we'll cover the following. Design thinking is a creative approach to problem solving that involves empathy, experimentation, and iteration. My design practice revolves around this philosophy, which involves understanding the problem, brainstorming ideas, researching, and prototyping. Firstly, I created a Gantt chart to help me manage the workload over several weeks, which proved invaluable after I fell ill and could easily make adjustments. This helped to prevent me from feeling completely overwhelmed. The Monotype brief. I chose this brief from a varied selection because it aligned with my personal values, skill set, and design style. Typography gives words meaning beyond the spoken word. A message that makes clever and appropriate use of typography can only enhance the comprehension and reach of the message to the chosen audience. Monotype had asked for a target audience of anyone who was passionate about a cause. I chose to target commuters in and around London who would be heavily affected by water shortages in the future unless change is made. To better understand the problem to solve within the brief, I researched the company as well as the subject matter of water scarcity. I gathered information from various sources and analyzed the data to develop insights that would guide my design process. I started with brainstorming sessions to come up with creative ideas. I wrote down every idea that came to mind, no matter how absurd they seemed. This helped me to develop a broad range of concepts that could potentially lead to a solution. Mind maps followed brainstorming notes to try and make sense of all the information. And here you can see the initial mind map versus the revised version, which is very clear in its display of information. Next, I created several mood boards to capture the essence of the vision I was trying to convey. Initially with old school style magazine type to find the efficacy of the type I wanted to use. I collected images, colors, textures, and typography that resonated with the project's goals. This helped me to develop a coherent visual direction that reflected the project's purpose. Taking inspiration from three designers, firstly Seb Lester, who is brilliant, hilarious, and daring. One of the elements I enjoy about his work is how he seamlessly integrates type and illustration, how the type can become the illustration, and vice versa. Another element is how clean and legible his typefaces are. David Airy is what I would call a master of brand identity and logo design. His work inspires me to consider the placement of type on the page to provide maximum impact without disappearing. What I love about the work of Jacob Cass is the clever use of negative space to further drive home the concept of his work. The simplicity is extremely attractive. He's probably more of a logo designer than a typographer, but either way, I find his work of the utmost interest. Using the insights and inspiration I'd gained, I created a series of sketches that explored different design solutions. This allowed me to visualize how the concepts would look and make adjustments based on the project's goals. I then created digital colorized versions to test the concept's viability. This allowed me to see how the design worked and identify areas that needed improvement. I then stepped back and reviewed the project so far with a lens on unconscious bias on the basis of dyslexia, ADHD, colorblindness, human diversity, and the shock factor I'd initially decided on. Throughout the design process, I constantly iterated my ideas to ensure that they met the project goals. This involved taking feedback and making the necessary changes. Thanks to feedback, this led to further research and caused me to completely change course. Banksy's Coca-Cola image showed me how to use the inspiration from my chosen designers to better use, and I set forth making new stamps and digital versions. Finally, after numerous adaptations, I arrived at my final design concept and other touchpoints. My design thinking practice and journey involved brainstorming, mind mapping, mood boarding, sketching, researching, creative thinking, self-review, peer review, feedback, additional adaptations, and prototyping. This allowed me to develop effective design solutions that met the project's goals. Thank you for listening.